take communion?
Great question. Communion is for believers, not for unbelievers. So if you're not a Christian, it's not for you. Because if you're not a Christian, it's just a little chiclet of bread and a cup of juice. That's all that is.
Not very filling.
Yeah, it's not a satisfying snack, especially when it was those prepackaged ones. Oh man, those were awful. Stale styrofoam and rotted purple Kool-Aid. So it's not like it's something you just want to snack on because the preacher's going long. Yeah, that's not what it is. So it holds no meaning for unbelievers. For believers, it absolutely holds all the meaning in the world. It's one of the two ordinances that has been passed down to us through church history that the church is to exercise. Baptism and the Lord's Supper are the two that communicate the truth of the gospel. So baptism communicates the truth of the gospel of the death, burial, and resurrection by uniting with Christ. And the Lord's Supper, communion, communicates that as we remember the body and the blood of the Lord Jesus sacrificed for sinners like us. And we're proclaiming that until his return because he's risen from the dead. We do that every single week because as a church we're to center around the gospel. Therefore, we take communion every single week because we need to remind ourselves the gospel is the focus of everything that we do. So if you're not a believer, don't take it. If you are in some weird, funky season in your faith, and the way that I had a friend describe it is by saying, if you have sin on the calendar, don't take it. If you're actively planning some sort of rebellion against the Lord, that you know this is coming, don't be fake. Don't pretend that you're great with the Lord right now, or convince yourself that you're going to take this and get a little bit of holiness and forgiveness from God, which gets my credit into the surplus so that I can go and sin later this week, and as long as I just get back and take communion next Sunday, I'll be okay. I don't know where people get that kind of stuff, but that's not real. So use it to be a time of conviction with the Lord, gratitude, love for him for what he's done. That's the whole point of that time of communion. So guys, thoughts about any other reasons to not take it?
We've had those discussions because 1 Corinthians 11 speaks to this, where Paul's writing about communion. Actually, I think this verse may be on our screen every week during communion. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the death of the Lord until he comes. But it keeps going. Therefore, whoever eats the bread or drinks the cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner shall be guilty of the body and the blood of the Lord. And so we've had some conversations, I know in the last year, at what point is our responsibility to do that? Because there are some denominations, some churches that are very strict. They're, so I imagine two extremes. You're getting in people's face are you going to take this in a worthy manner? And where we kind of landed for now is we're not the communion police. We're not going to go around and ask, do you have sin on the calendar, as you said? But also, it's something that we should take very seriously as well.
Well, and that was something we talked about when we brought Wednesday nights back too. Is are we going to offer communion again during the week? So,
yeah, and we don't want to be legalistic about it. You can only take it once a week. There's no biblical rule about that. That if you take it on a Wednesday night, you're sinful because it's not a Sunday. God's going to hit you with lightning on the way home. Again, I don't know where this stuff comes from. For kids, so we offer this in the back for kids on Sundays as well. We have traditionally restricted that to kids who've been immersed because kids don't quite understand the nature of this, and it becomes it is kind of a snack, and everybody else is doing it. So how do you communicate? Well, if you're a believer, every kid in that room is like, well, I believe in Jesus. Well, yeah, but that's not necessarily what we're talking about as a person of faith. So that's been restricted just to help them understand the nature of salvation itself. But we've always practiced open communion. That's what that's known as on Sundays. That hey, if you're here, if you're a believer, you're welcome to take it. We don't require, and not all churches are like that. Some denominations, you have to be a part of that denomination to take it. Otherwise, you're not allowed to do that. Catholics are notorious for it, but they're not the only ones who are that way. We're just not. It's symbolic of the Lord, so you can partake.